Hello there, and welcome back to our 31 days of calming tips. And I don't know about you, but as we are doing this series, which is October 2023, as we're putting this together, and there's chaos in the world. And I just want to acknowledge that as something that you might be feeling as you're listening to this or watching this. Whether it's related to the war and what's going on in Israel, maybe it's something personal in your life. But I just want to acknowledge that there are times in our life where things just feel overwhelming, right? And if you are an empath, as I am, where we take on emotions of others and we take on the energy of what's going on around us, and we can learn, by the way, to be empathetic without holding those things in our body, which is really important. And that's part of what this calming series will help you do. But I just wanted to acknowledge that you might be feeling really big things right now. You may recognize that your anxiety is elevated. Your heart rate might be elevated. You might be snapping at people, less patient. You might be wanting to hide and snuggle up in the bedroom. You may just be throwing yourself into work or distracting yourself with something that's binge worthy on Netflix. And if you've got any good tips, let me know. By the way, I loved Bridgerton. If you haven't watched it, it was filmed in Bath in the UK, which was about 15 minutes from where I used to live when I was living there. So that was an interesting side note, right? But I want you to know that the question to ask yourself here, when things feel big, when things feel overwhelming, when things feel out of control, and it's almost like things are spinning and you can't put your foot on the ground. If you've ever had too much alcohol, then you know that feeling too, right? Where your head's spinning, you're just like, I just want to feel the ground. I'll admit, I've been there once or twice in my life. But we want that feeling. We want that feeling of being able to hold on. And what I have found to be the most effective thing is to hold on to ourselves and to ask ourselves a really, really important question. And that is, what can I do right now to nurture myself? What can I do right now to help me feel calm, centered, grounded, connected, like I've got a foot on the earth when things feel like they're spinning out of control? I have felt that feeling many times in my life. And it is this question that has saved me every time. And if you're not sure what the answer is, what you need, scroll through these episodes, see what speaks to you, right? Because each one of them is designed intentionally to help lighten the load that you're carrying, to take things off your plate, not add to them. And so try that out and it might be a question that you're really unfamiliar with, right? It's so, another thing we might do so often when we're feeling overwhelmed by things is we look to help others. What can I do for you? It's a form of distraction and it's actually a trauma response. But I know that it can be one that we so easily do. But instead, I'm going to ask you to start asking yourself the question, what do I need to feel safe, to feel nurtured, to feel loved? And invite in a little bit of that. Okay. And it works. And it has been my go-to of the past 10 years as I have gone through, oh gosh, life-altering car accident, moving house 7 times in the past 8 years, including to and from the Caribbean, losing my mom my dad and my younger brother, so my entire family unit that I grew up with within a 5-year period. My husband in a serious motorcycle accident, almost losing his right arm. We didn't know for almost 2 months if they were going to be able to save it. I've had Zika virus, shingles. I got married, which is fantastic, but obviously stressful too. And then being diagnosed with breast cancer. And that's just a snippet of what the past 10 years has looked like for me. And I know that your life is also full of traumas and bumps and difficult things and grief and loss and serious illness. And things, many of these things might be out of our control. So it's so important to come back. And the way that I have bounced back and got through these things is by taking care of myself. And there's times as I was sat in the recliner and sleeping in the recliner next to my husband when he was in the hospital for 2 weeks, I just remember saying to myself, Karen, and this was literally a month after my mom had passed away. And I remember just saying, Karen, if all you can do is drink enough water, that's all you can do. And that's what I focused on, was just making sure that I was hydrating enough. And sometimes that's all we can do, is focus on one thing. So as you look through these episodes, think about what one thing do I need to nurture myself today, to nourish myself, to take care of myself. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about reading not just any old book, because not any old book is going to give you the desired effect here, but an uplifting book. And that's going to look like something different for each of us, right? Now, I have many, many, many books on personal development and growth, nutrition, cancer prevention, living a healthy life after breast cancer, so many breast cancer books, but also so many. I find for me, I have certain authors who write in a way that is super easy to read. Not all of these books are written this way. Many of them I find are like, too technical or too sciencey or whatever. And I might read them and get information that's, important for sure, helpful for sure, both for myself and my clients. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about books that inspire you, that uplift you. Now, for me, there's one author that pops into my head, and that's Brene Brown. And if you're not familiar with her, I do highly recommend her books. And my first introduction to Brene, first of all, I love the way that she writes. It's like you're having a conversation with her. So it's easy to read. I find her books very honest and super quick to go through, but also life altering at the same time. And if you haven't read her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, such a game changer. Such a game changer. So that's one way, books that might inspire you. Gabby Bernstein, these books that just bring grounding, ease, self-reflection, if you feel up for that. But if you don't, then I also love like those good beach reads, right? That are just easy to read, and they're just something that's magical and light. But I would try to, and I mean, this is your decision, right? This is where you get to say, okay, what's uplifting for me? I personally don't do well with horror. I don't do well with science fiction. Those are not my jam. But give me I'm thinking of Ellen Hildebrand, who writes about Nantucket and beachy stuff and family stuff, then those are uplifting books for me. Again, they may be things that trigger you depending on what your life story is. But find some books that speak to you, that are easy to read, that are uplifting, that make you feel good and inspire you, not make you feel down and anxious, right? It's the opposite of what we're looking for. Now, reading is something that I do a lot of. I'm not good at doing it before going to bed. It's just not my jam, but it might be for you. But I love to set up an area in my home that has like a little reading nook, right? A comfy chair, nice comfy blanket, a table for me to put my cup of tea. And we're going to be talking more about tea, by the way, in the next episode. So look out for that one. But it's finding a space and creating a space. We talked about making a safe space earlier in this series, but creating a space that just feels good to you, that feels like a virtual hug. And it can be in one little corner. And so making that space, both physically, but also making time in your day, right? Setting aside time for you to sit and just read. It doesn't matter if you don't remember it. It doesn't matter if you lose the plot. It doesn't matter any of those things. It's just setting aside that time for you to do something that makes you feel good in the moment. Okay? That is an act of self-care. That is you saying, what can I do right now to calm myself down? To make me feel calmer, to make me feel less anxious. And you'll notice that it does just that, right? And it calms you down. It makes you feel better. And that's what we want. So your calming action of the day is to find an uplifting book. Maybe it's on a bookcase at home, one that you've been wanting to read forever and you've never had time to do. Maybe it's on your Kindle. I'm a real book person. I have a Kindle for travel because it makes it easier. But when I'm at home, I prefer, I don't know, there's something about touching a real book for me, right? But set aside some time every day. And it might be the middle of your afternoon. It could be before bed. It could be early in the morning. It could be whenever you want it to be. But setting aside some time for reading, and you'll notice how you start to feel calmer. Okay. Now let's end our episode today the way that we've been ending all of our episodes, by showing yourself some love. And we talked about what's going on in the world. And I want you to know that this simple action that we've been doing at the end of every episode, you can do anywhere, anytime. So if you notice that you're starting to feel anxious, I invite you to just do this and feel the love, feel the connection, feel yourself start to calm down by simply telling yourself that you've got you. Okay, so left hand over heart, right hand gently on top, like you're holding your heart. And you can either say this to your 10-year-old self, or maybe it's something that you need to say to yourself today, just as you are. You get to choose who you're saying this to. And repeat after me, either in your head or out loud, whichever you feel more called to do. You are loved. You are safe. I've got you. I love you. Thank you for joining me today. And know that you get to invite in a little bit of calm in what may feel like a really overwhelming and chaotic world and life. And you get to invite that in for yourself whenever you would like. Okay. I will see you in the next episode.